You're listening to High School Sports Talk on ESPN Radio 94.1, presented by VirginiaPreps.com. Now back to your hosts, Matt Hatfield and the coach, Ed Young.
There's Brown, a three, no good. And that's going to do it. Wins the state championship, their first in school history. And here come the Titans.
Oh, what a day it was 2 weeks ago from today as Lake Taylor boys basketball won their first state title, a thriller 72-66 in double overtime over John Handley out of Winchester. 26-1 magical season for Coach Kenny Brown, who's now 243 and 161 at the helm in 17 seasons. And we say good morning and congrats to Coach Brown of the state champion Titans. Coach, how does that sound, state championship 2 weeks ago?
Hey, I tell you, Matt, first of all, I would like to say good morning to you and Coach Young. I tell you, man, the feeling is so great that I haven't had a good night's sleep since Wednesday night, maybe March 8th or 9th. I haven't had a good night's sleep, but I'm still not tired.
Had a good night's sleep. At what point have you kind of pinched yourself and said, this is surreal that we won it? And not just that you won it, but in the fashion, and we'll get into it, the way that you guys won it, which was really a thriller, a game that was one that will be remembered forever.
Yeah, I thought it was an outstanding game. I'll tell you, when I finally realized that, we won it, I think it was 6.8 seconds left on the clock, and we was up 4. So I was concerned, even though Taquan McNair was going to the free throw line, I was concerned that John Handley maybe had another timeout. So when I went to the scorer's table and I asked the guy at the scorer's table, I said, how many timeouts does John Handley have left? And he said 0. So I started pumping my fist in. If you can see the last 6.8, I kind of lost myself because my coaches were like, Coach, it's not over. Sit down. I said, it's over because I told our guys, if they hit a 3, just let the ball roll out of bounds. And it just, like a frenzy feeling just came over me. And I knew at that point that we had won it.
Hey, Kenny, congrats, man, on winning that. I mean, it's the ultimate. And it's what you really, really work for. And I concur with your story. I kind of smiled when I was listening to you say this because I go back to when I was fortunate enough to get a state title, and we were playing Floyd County in a state tournament, and they go on an 8-0 run. And I called timeout. I think I threw my jacket into the stands. That's when I was a little bit younger and crazy. And I was mad as hell. And then I called timeout. I'm yelling at the kids, and they go back on the floor, and the coach, one of my assistants said, Coach, we're up 18 points. We got 2 managers in the game, and there's 41 seconds to go in the game. This game is over, Coach. You're screaming at the kids. Sit back and enjoy the title. But you're right. You get caught up in it.
Yes.
It's all you work for. Now, obviously, you've had a little bit of time to think about it. You haven't slept, which is typical. But now when you sit back and think of all the time, effort you put in, the scouting, the attention to detail. When you lose a game, you go over to it. Is it all worth it?
Yes. I tell you, Coach Young, it's all worth it because I just have flashes of 17 years, like you just said it best, the scouting, the upsets, the losing, the free throw line violation at Churchland, what if, would it ever happen? And to go back with flashbacks with all those times, every time I do it, and it's almost every day, every time I do it, I get teary-eyed, and I'm not ashamed to say that I get teary-eyed, but I get teary-eyed because, I thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ that, when I prayed, I was told to stay the course. And I get teary-eyed and get very emotional, even when I'm in the shower, walking down the street, I'm in class. I just get emotional because it was a long journey, and we stood the course, and we got there. We got to the promised land. So, it's very emotional, and still, I'm emotional right now just, talking to y'all guys on the phone. So it's a great feeling.
Well, Kenny, nobody faults you, because if they haven't been through it, they can't understand it. I mean, I as one who's gone through it, I understand what you're going through, and you're more than welcome to feel that way, because it is a culmination of all those events that you talked about, long practice, all that stuff. And unless you've gone through it, I don't think anybody really understands it.
Exactly. And especially, you get to a point, and I know you've been there before you won it, you have a group of kids, certain teams that you really, you start saying, hey, man, I really wish we could work and get a state title. It's a good group of kids. But, God works his plan the way he's going to work it, and you got to stay in that plan if you're faithful. And my thing is, I had some very good players, but things happen. But this year, it come to pass, man. These group of kids, man, I couldn't have, it couldn't have happened to a better group. I mean, I love, my ex-players, man, not taking anything away from them, but it was just something special about these guys. You watch Darion and Joe Bryant lead us all year in big games, and then you see them, at pregame meal, wrestling with one of the kids that don't play much. Darion chasing somebody around the gym, or they chasing him. The twins, the unsung heroes that just went out there every night and made it happen for us on the defensive end. Just humble. They wasn't even worried about interviews, and to have those guys that close. I think this is the first year in my 17 years that we didn't have guys that went separate ways. They wanted, I'm going to miss pregame meal. So it was all for these guys, and I think it was fitting for this group to get it.
We're chatting with Lake Taylor head basketball coach Kenny Brown. His team won a state title 2 weeks ago at the Siegel Center in a thriller in double overtime over John Handley, 72-66 here on High School Sports Talk, presented by VirginiaPreps.com on ESPN Radio 94.1. We got so much to go over with Coach Brown this morning. We're going to try to keep him for 2 segments if possible, Coach, as we just got a ton to go over, including some of those names you mentioned, like Darion Sebron, the Tidewater and State Player of the Year, Joe Bryant, the Norfolk State signee, Jalen Jordan, the unsung heroes like the Washington Twins and Taekwon Bones McNair, as well as Davon Blackwell. But I want to hit on something that you mentioned at the very end of your press conference 2 weeks ago, and it struck a chord with me. And I know everyone has their own beliefs and all that, but you said that 2 years ago you prayed that you would win a state championship. Now, this year, you prayed for the health and well-being of your kids. Having gone through what you guys went through the last 2 years, the heartbreaking loss to Monacan, people talk about the Jersey scenario, the Smithfield buzzer beater. Just speak on what you and your kids, that growth the last 2 years, what you learned as you guys are able to win it this year.
We learned some very valuable lessons, Matt. Very valuable to get to this point where we are now. We, playing on a collegiate level and losing some games through experience on the court as a coach. I wanted to instill that, in those guys. If you could remember 2 years ago when we lost in the last seconds, if you could remember the kids, they was hysterical. The coaches was crying. My wife was, she didn't even want to talk to me, so many fans that kind of lost it. Everybody talked about the wrong uniforms and, driving on a bus and not getting a charter bus, no pep rally at school. But, Matt, I took all that in to say, when I went to the press conference, and I think I spoke to you, you saw me relaxed. Hey, man, it didn't have anything to do with not having a pep rally, these things are not happening. It didn't have anything to do with the uniforms. So, I gave the credit to Monacan. We didn't play well down the stretch. So to put all that together, I wanted to use my mindset that I had after we just lost a state title to carry it over for next year with the kids. hey, in the summertime, we're not going to talk about the uniforms or anything. Hey, man, we missed the free throws. That was our Achilles heel. We're going to work harder next year. And then to even come back, Matt, and lose on a 50-footer, it was even more devastating, but it kept me in perspective. So I think all of it built up, because remember I told you in the press conference 2 years ago, I had the wrong reasons of trying to win. It was selfish.
Yes.
It was immature of me as a coach. But I'll tell the world that, remember I told you I wanted to win 2 years ago when we got there, because I wanted to really have something to say to my critics, to the people that, say I can't coach, he should be fired, we need another coach. I really wanted to attack them, and say, look at me now. But that was the wrong message that I was trying to send. And like I said, God, his time is his time. If you stay faithful, there's no time, when you're faithful, with trusting in the Lord. So I just went back. I didn't know that we was going to win it this year, but I immediately said after all of that, I said, Lord, I gave the wrong prayer, and I just prayed that, our guys stay healthy, well-being, a good mindset. And, if we get to this point, give me an opportunity to be the best coach that I could be. So I stayed humble after I made some bad decisions on why I wanted to win. And then notice that I said I never said we. So I was taking it personal. And now that the we factor, so going into this year, remember I told you several interviews, I say our motto is we have tunnel vision. Yes. We're not going to look to the left, the right. We're going to do everything the right way, a clean program, but we're going to look at that light at the end of the tunnel, and that's what we're going to try to get to. So I think my mindset changed, and I helped change the kids' mindset about talking about the last 2 years and say the last 2 years you can't change them. You got to go out there and grind it out every day in the gym. When Yogi take him on the beaches, when Tyran, they call him the sergeant. When he taking them through the grueling practices and they crying and whining, it was zero tolerance to have attitude. So I think that I used the right mindset to carry over to the program, and it got us to where we are now.
Great stuff there, and we'll get through some of your players here in just a moment, Coach. But I want to also hit on just the fantastic start you guys had. 17-0 as you guys recover from that heartbreaking loss to Smithfield a year ago on the buzzer beater. You're averaging almost 80 points per game through that. Beat some big-time teams, LC Burden, our Virginia Preps Classic, Blue Ridge. You go up to Maryland, D.C. area and beat Gilman and Stephen Decatur, and you win some good games, beat Maury the first time by 15. Then you suffer a loss to Maury by 11 at Norview, game that was supposed to be in your gym. But I think we saw another growth moment and maturity moment in that there wasn't finger-pointing, there wasn't complaining, at least didn't seem like it to us, that this team then was fueled by that one defeat. You didn't have the pressure of undefeated weighing you down, and it seemed like that almost made you stronger in a sense, did it?
Yeah, it made us stronger, and I'll tell you what made us stronger. When I saw, after the game was over, in a standing room only crowd, somebody took a picture of Sebron and Jalen Jordan. And they were hugging each other, walking into the locker room, Matt. And when I saw them smiling, whatever conversation they had, after what fans and probably other people thought was a devastating loss, I saw a very, very mature picture. And that carried over to the guys. When we went in the locker room, which we used to do in the past, man, we didn't do this, we didn't do that, man, we lost, we could have, we used, before I saw the picture, that was our mindset, because Darion, one of the leaders, him and Jordan went in there, hey, man, we didn't play well, and but I said, guys, we're not going to take away anything from Maury being up one against a very good defensive team. And I thought our defense really got better. I said, man, we're not going to take anything away from Maury. Little Brian Phillips, and Chase Coleman played a heck of a game, and they did everything the right way, and they deserved to win that game. But also, I jokingly said this: we needed that one loss in the back of our mind. And what a loss that we took with losing to Maury, my alma mater. good friend, young coach, Brandon Plummer, that can probably piggyback his guys to make a run with them defeating us. And also, I went home and told my wife, and I know Chase he don't mind me talking about this, but I said, Brown, Chase didn't talk about the Orange Crush. They had leaks in our ceiling. It was fitting for us to lose. So I kind of joked about it. So our maturity level rose to the highest level. And then, again, when I saw that picture of them, you would think a young coach would probably blow a gasket. Man, these guys, I got a picture of them smiling, and we just lost to Maury and blah, blah. And it was just all fitting for a very mature group. And I'll tell you this, Matt, along with that, when we played against some tough teams, I think when we played Gilman and we had to pull it out down the stretch by 6, when we went to the hotel to eat dinner, I had a scout report while we was waiting for our pizza, and Joe Bryant, Steve Saban, those guys said, "Hey man, coach, throw that. Now we're going to play a good Stephen Decatur team." So the maturity level had risen before the Maury game, but it extended from the Maury game. And what I mean by that is, they told me, "Hey, coach, man, get rid of that scout. We're always writing extra notes down and stuff, man. We veterans, man. We just gonna go out there and play." And after that, Matt, I just stopped doing scouting reports. So they matured greatly from that game, from that Maury game.
Well, Kenny, speaking about scouting reports, when I saw you play this year, your pressure, your full court pressure, obviously by design, overwhelmed people. Can you kind of hang your hat on? Is that maybe the key for you guys in this championship run, or just a combination of a lot of things on the court?
I'll tell you what, Coach Young. That was what the coaching staff came up with, and I think I have to give full credit to Coach Matthews and Coach Edwards, who they call Yogi. Those two guys. They sat down, they talked, and Tyrann always said, and it's funny, but is a fact, is a total fact. Coach Matthews always said, "Hey Brown, we got to speed the game up." He said this years ago. We got to speed the game up. So, especially when they got 2 referees, they can't see everything, so they're not going to catch our fouls. And then he said, even if it's 3 referees, we speed the game up. So any judgmental calls, they might just let them go, and that's going to be toward our advantage. So piggybacking off of that, I say, Tyrann, that'll also help us like in a boxing match, any team, Coach Young. And I know y'all saw some teams, Granby, very good game plan that Mike Evans had, Barron Sandlin, up by 7 or 8 at halftime. People was texting me on my phone once the game was over. This is unreal. This is unheard of. What Brown and them doing? So the ball pressure in a championship boxing match, you wonder why the guy that's the challenger is just going after the ribs of the guy he's fighting in the ring for 11 rounds. And you know what I'm saying? You're just trying to wear him down. So now in the 12th round, just like basketball, what happens? His ribs are hurting so bad, he started guarding his ribs. Now you can take them shots at his head and put him out. So we knew that teams was going to get some buckets with that all-out pressure. But we knew at some point in time it's going to wear them down. It's going to wear them down. And then when we get in that final quarter, see, what we always did, Coach Young, was we try to wear you down to a point. We need everybody at the free throw line on the other team to hold their knees. Once they do that, if it's in the first quarter or the second quarter, we know we got them. And to put all out ball pressure into perspective, this is a fact. We played Stephen Decatur. They had a point guard that signed with University of Maryland Eastern Shore. But they had an off guard, Ed, that was pretty good. I'm not for sure what his name is, but he was pretty good. We gave all-out ball pressure, so much pressure in the first half that when we was going to the locker room, that kid, not in foul trouble, he was leaning over on the water cooler, gasping for air, trying to get water. And Coach Joe Bryant, Sr., kind of tapped him on the butt and kind of giggled. Hey, young fella, we got another second half. Yeah, I don't know if this kid cramped up or anything. He did not play the whole second half. Wow. So that's what our ball pressure tries to do to you. We try to wear you down and just give you that knockout. You know, we had guys gasping for air in the fourth quarter, and they telling their coach, hey, man, take me out, give me a breather. The coach said no, and then we just rotate. You know, we rotate, and we trust 10 guys or so, 11 guys, and we just try to wear you down. And then when you got to come out of that zone dead tired, that's when our guys are at their best.
We got one more segment with the state championship winning coach of the Lake Taylor Titans, Kenny Brown. We'll get into his big three of Sebron, Bryant, and Jordan, and some of those unsung heroes, too, right here on High School Sports Talk, presented by VirginiaPreps.com. Don't go anywhere. It's ESPN Radio 94.1.
ESPN Radio 94.1.
You're listening to High School Sports Talk on ESPN Radio, presented by VirginiaPreps.com. Now back to your hosts, Matt Hatfield and the coach, Ed Young.
There's Brown, a three, no good. And that's going to do it. Lake Taylor wins the state championship, their first in school history. And here come the Titans.
It doesn't get old if you're a Lake Taylor grad or a fan out there, as the Titans won a state championship 2 weeks ago. Back here with the coach, Ed Young. I am Matthew Hatfield. We bring in the head coach of the state championship winning Titans from Class 4 as they won a double overtime thriller. As you heard, they're over John Handley 72-66. We say good morning again to Coach Kenny Brown. Coach, let's go over some of those key players now a little bit more in depth here in our final 10 minutes with you here. Darion Sebron, deservedly the Tidewater Player of the Year. He'll be the state Player of the Year in Class 4 on Virginia Preps, and I'm sure by the VHSL coaches and the VHSCA coaches as well. 22 points, about 12 rebounds a game. I know he's on an official visit. I'm not sure if he's still there, but North Texas, he's got about 9 or 10 other schools recruiting him. What makes him so special?
Oh, man, Matt, his ability to get to the bucket in traffic, you know, and that being able to create literally wide open shots for other guys, but again, his ability to score. I'll say score instead of getting to the bucket. His ability to score create a lot of scoring opportunities for us, which allowed us to score 7 to 8 or so points per game. But it's exceptional, and you know I just never seen that before. You know, on the high school level, that I coached a kid that has the ability to get around 2 or 3 guys in traffic and still be able to score it.
Indeed, and on the official visit to North Texas, any update now with the recruiting? Is he going to be in the All-Star game today at the Virginia Wesleyan? What's sort of the update there?
Yes. Actually, when you kept hearing those beats, that was Coach Miller from North Texas.
Okay.
Giving me a call, so I didn't want to click off. He's on his way back, and is playing a touchdown at 2:15. He's anxious to get back to get in the Joy Fund All-Star game. So he'll probably get there right in time, or whatever quarter it is. I think the fans want to see him play. So even if he come in there late and suit up, it'll be a joy for the fans, and it's a good cause. Missouri State, just talked to their coach last night. They just officially offered him.
Okay.
They offered him, so he'll be going on an official visit out there after the college dead period is over. I think April 6th or 7th or so. A lot of contact, interest, mail from Oklahoma State, and the connection with that is the head assistant that used to be at James Madison that was recruiting Darion heavily.
Dave Contaxis, right?
Yeah, as their number 1 guy for next year. he's on the staff over at Oklahoma State, so he got with the head coach, and I guess they look at Seaburn, 6'6" point guard that can have that ability. They looked at him as a steal out in Oklahoma, which is a very good school, tough conference, and so they've been on him. They've been on him pretty heavily. They've been doing a lot of contact, talking on the phone on the regular, and North Texas is just going all out. With the visit, I saw him on social media with his mother. First time flying. They said that the visit was, it went very well, outstanding. To my knowledge, he hasn't committed yet, but his recruitment has, picked up a great deal. And then, a lot of people question, and I've heard some, AAU coaches, and not to say any names, definitely not that, because that's not my style. Will he, will he clear to play as a freshman? I don't know about his grades. Now, my thing is, if you're going to say that about one kid, then you should say that about all the kids.
Correct. Yes.
Because you don't know the grades on all the kids. You can have an outstanding kid that and I'm not stereotyping that lives in a certain neighborhood, that have mom and dad at home that's an outstanding player, and then they say, well, he's going prep or JUCO because. But he's on course. He's on course. And then he had to take an extra class because, over at Norcom they did 4x4. So those only 4 classes as opposed to 8. So he had to take a few more classes than he would normally take as a senior. And there's certain goals that he had to get at those classes. And then we got him. He did a real good job on the first time taking SATs in the past. So we're looking forward to the ACTs April 14th. And we got him lined up for the SATs and whatever it takes. But he should be in good standing where he'll clear and play as a freshman. Just the recruitment process. Probably, this is new to me, Matt, also because, you get a kid on that level in 17 years. I haven't had a kid on that recruiting level. And then, the good thing is he has not wavered out Norfolk State and Hampton. So, both schools are still real excited. I know people are saying, why he's not going to Hampton? Can you play at Hampton? I am not going to be responsible, Matt, for any one of our kids for me to lead them somewhere and then they're not happy. And then I'm responsible because that happened with me when I played at Western Carolina, and to go to school in those mountains in between all those rocks, and the mall was 2 hours away and one McDonald's. I flew after the season was over. I could have jogged home and never went back, but I love the school. But I just don't want to be responsible for. He's going to make his decision, and all those guys are going to make their decision, and I'm going to stand by.
Kenny, how about also you got a couple of those other guys, speak to them also, Joe Bryant, and, of course, Jalen Jordan, who had that big game against L.C. Bird in the Virginia Preps tournament.
Yes, Joe Bryant, when he went on his official visit with Norfolk State showed him a lot of love. It was family oriented. They set the weekend up perfect. His family fell in love with it, and they met. And they decided, hey, Coach, man, he gave me a call. Coach, I'm signing with Norfolk State. I said, man, I'm proud of you. I got on him later that, I'm a Pirate, but, I'm proud of your son. I watched him grow, over a 4-year span. Even when he was in the 7th grade and kind of like blew his knee out, I watched him grow from that. And then, to go on to Jalen Jordan, I'll say this on ESPN Radio. I'll say this. The school that Jalen Jordan signed with is going to have a major steal. And I think that schools that are contemplating to offer is going to say, I wish, man, we could have had that kid. And I'll tell you why. He has a great upside. He's already cleared. Great kid. Very respectful, fun-loving kid that, you get a kid like that, guys, that's 6'3", that can score in bunches. You get them on campus in the everyday class work, and then after that is workout, lift. I wouldn't be surprised that Jalen do just as well as if Jalen do just as well as, Joe and Darion on the collegiate level.
It definitely was great for you guys in some big games, such as that LC Bird one that Ed talked about. We're talking with Coach Kenny Brown of the state champion Lake Taylor Titans. A couple more minutes with him here on ESPN Radio 94.1. It's High School Sports Talk presented by VirginiaPreps.com. And if you want to see the guys in action, Sebron, Bryant, Jordan, and Coach Brown, who's coaching in the Joy Fund All-Star game today. The girls' game is at 1 o'clock at Virginia Wesleyan. Boys' game at 3 o'clock. Tickets available at the door for just $5, and it goes to the Joy Fund, which is a nonprofit organization that provides toys to underprivileged children in Hampton Roads. So a great cause. Go out there and support the local athletes and just what is a terrific cause, Coach. Let's get to some of those unsung guys. The Washington Twins, they were just menaces on defense, getting steals left and right, free of part of that relentless pressure that Coach talked about earlier, as well as Davon Blackwell, who was just fantastic in the state final game with the threes off the bench. I loved his answer when we asked him in the press conference, did you ever dream of this? He said, of course. So you could tell he was quietly confident. And then Taekwon McNair, I think it's fitting for you guys with the free throw failures in the past to have McNair, the guy you guys call Bones, hit 6 of 6 from the foul line the last 30 seconds to ice it for you.
Oh, man. Wow. Those Washington Twins, I tell you what. And the good thing is with these guys, it's because they are humble and they're not concerned about, pats on the back. And then y'all, Coach Young and Matt, I mean, you saw so many games. We got to tell the truth here. Hey, man, it's defense. It's defense that these 26 games that we won. It's defense first. Their defense was consistent throughout the whole entire year. Yeah, we saw Joe Bryant, Jalen, Darion score points on the scoreboard, but look how many points they scored off of, steals, deflections. These two guys diving on the floor. I think one of my greatest pictures that I'll always remember, and I got that up on my wall at the house, is when Tyler Washington, number 5 that comes off the bench, the twin, he's on his knees looking to throw an outlet pass to somebody on the team against Huguenot in Richmond. And that was one of the greatest defensive plays, sacrifice that I ever seen live. So those guys are not very talkative either. They'll brush off. Hey, man, y'all guys are the unsung hero, man. If it weren't for your defense, they like, oh, yeah, whatever. So I told them that, I know I'm going to spend a little money, and I told you too, Matt, that I'm going to have to just take those two guys. Those going to be my guys that go to Ruth Chris, and I'm going to have to give them steak dinners.
Hey, bring us to it. We'll take a few of those steak dinners.
That's a lot of money. Kenny, come on. Kenny, Ruth Chris now, it's a lot of money now.
Hey, I tell you what, guys, I'm so excited and humble with this state title, man. I might take y'all two guys and the Twins to the Ruth Chris. It's worth spending the money.
We're there.
Yeah.
Hey, Hatfield, you might reconsider, because if it's free, he's there. Look out.
I got you. And now to go on to Blackwell. Here's a kid that he's feisty, and I'll tell you why. And it carried over in the state championship game, all the way to the state championship. He's so feisty. It's been on 2 occasions that I was about to kick him off the team. Just running off at the mouth, the arrogance. And that happened, Coach Young. I know that you got players that where their heart is, but they just talk so much and just believe everything that they want to believe instead of listening. And then the third time was him and Coach Matthews the week before the state tournament. Coach Matthews go at the guys, and he challenged Coach Matthews. So we was like, man, get out of here. Get out of practice. You don't have to come back. And he said, man, I'm not going nowhere. So Coach Matthews said, hey, Brown, don't let me handle him. So we allowed him, because of his toughness, we allowed him to be a man. He came back to practice, him and Coach Matthews had a one-on-one, and that moved on. Do you know those last 3 or 4 practices, after they moved on, he was the hardest working guy in practice. So I said, hey, man, why all of a sudden you working so hard? He was like, hey, man, Coach, man, I made some mistakes running off at the mouth, but I'm going to be ready. I'm going to be ready for this run. So I told him to do this. I said, hey, he's from Berkeley. So when we got to the state tournament, I said, I didn't even know how much time he was going to play because he wasn't projected to play a lot, in and out. And I said, man, at the U-Turn shoot-around, when we was at U-Turn Sports, I said, Blackwell, hey, man, do something to make your neighborhood in Berkeley proud. He's like, huh? I said, man, do something in the championship game to make your neighborhood proud. So when we were struggling, trying to figure out, we saw the zone again. And for them to be athletic, John Handley, they packed the zone in, and it was a 1-3-1, guys. So what we did is Tyrann Matthews immediately said, Brian, we got to go with Blackwell. So I looked down the bench, and I said, Blackwell, you ready? And I won't say it on ESPN Radio, but he was like, man, I'm always ready. So I was like, I smiled, in the middle of a war. I said, man, get him out there. And y'all can see what happened, man. He went out there with the full confidence. It was almost like he was one of our top 3 or top 2 leading scorers all year. So that feistiness that he had in him made him a little arrogant. But what great time to be arrogant. To be arrogant, to believe in his jump shot. I don't know how many snacks that he owed me that I beat him every time in practice, but he always said, man, you garbage. I still got the best jump shot. So it just carried over into that state title game. I even gave him a kiss on the forehead. And, them guys don't play that stuff. So they was like, man, coach, they just laughed. And Taquan McNair, we call him Bone. One of our teachers that drive the bus, they call him Juicy. He loves to eat. This guy has snacks in his bag after we eat pregame meal in the locker room, but he's tough as nails. And we know that in crunch time, in practice, guys, we always, do little stuff to distract those guys and shoot free throws because we want them to run because we press all game. We do everything we can. We laugh, we joke. We run past Taquan McNair, and it never fails. He knocks him down. He don't talk trash. He smiles. So when he missed his first 2, and John Handley's strategy, I thank God that he missed his first 2 because John Handley was like, hey, let's keep fouling number 24. And I said, thank you, Lord. And he looked at me, and I said, man, just make the next one. And we were fully confident, even everybody on the bench. 3 times that he got fouled, everybody on the bench kept saying, it's over. It's over. Ty, you at the free throw line. It's over. And he just looked at everybody with that nonchalant look and knocked all 6 of them down. So what a great finish. What a great finish. Unsung heroes. And then don't forget Kayshawn Ward that I haven't talked about all interview. Kayshawn Ward, number 12.
Yes.
Probably, and he even going to put that inside his ring engraving. He put the rebound. He will go down, in my eyes, as long as I'm living. I'm calling it the greatest rebound in the history of Lake Taylor boys basketball ever. So, everybody played a role. They stayed ready, and it just, the ball just bounced our way in a great game.
Kenny, my last question to you, and I know maybe it shouldn't ask it because you're still basking in what you should be, but let's look forward. You got to get ready for off-season next year. But now, I heard a small rumor, can't tell you where I heard it from, that you were thinking maybe another year or 2 that this would be it for you. And I know you don't divulge any of those kind of plans in public forums of this nature, but what's on your mindset? Have you even looked forward to next year, the off-season, or again, let me just enjoy what I'm enjoying right now?
Good question, Coach, and I knew you was going to get me towards.
No, I have to be the bad guy.
It's okay. And and I'll say it publicly. I want my coaching staff to take over next year, and I want to coach next year. So it's kind of like we're going to meet. Of course, I'm going to talk to my wife first, my principal. So in saying that, it sounds like I want to do it all. So that might be a guess that, I might be around a little longer and still let the guys, run the ship. So, I talked to my wife already, my brother Dante, one of my biggest fans, my brother Dante, my pastor Greg Perry, and I'm calling out some names, and I hope they don't get mad at me on the radio, but they just, just kept giving me different stuff. My brother said, man, a warrior got to defend his throne, got to defend the title. My wife said, Kenny, you can't go now. You can't go now. My pastor said, hey, Kenny, you can't go, man. And I'll tell you this on a personal note. My stepdad, since I was 2 years old, was my father. Darnell Hood. But I never met my real father, so my pastor told me, hey, man, you're a father to many. You can't stop being a father now. So I have, especially my wife, but I have some people telling me that I can't go because I don't want to let, my wife and those people down. So I would say, man, I think you'll still see me. You'll still see me.
Oh, your wife tells you not to retire because she don't want you home.
That's right. That's right. She shop every day, and then I can't put on a timer how long she's in TJ Maxx or her stores. So I know she don't want me home. So I'll say, guys, that you'll see me. You'll see me. You'll definitely see me next year.
Well, we hope to see you, and we thank you so much for the time this morning. Congrats again on a state championship, and I'm sure we'll talk soon.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you for inviting me on the show, and I'm very humble. And whatever you need me to do, talk to kids in elementary, anything you need me to do, Coach Brown will be there, if God willing.
You got it, Coach.
Great job, Kenny. Congrats again.
Thanks, guys.
That is the one and only Kenny Brown, head boys basketball coach of the state champion Lake Taylor Titans, with us this morning on High School Sports Talk, presented by VirginiaPreps.com. When we return, we have another state championship winning coach, Darnell Dozier of the Princess Anne Lady Cavaliers. He's got 9 rings now. We'll talk about it more coming your way on ESPN Radio 94.